Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Roundup here on Blood Bowl Live, your weekly show to go through all of the action from the last week of the A&DBBL Season 7. I'm Chris. I'm back. I've had 2 weeks off, but I'm back here now. And joining me this week is, as always, the ever-present Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, hello, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. And no Scott this week. He had a few other things to do, but we've brought in Monday Night Roundup regular, but his first appearance of this season, Phil Coe. Phil, hello there. Good to see you supporting the local team. I guess
Yes,
is the
yes, the
phrase.
local team.
Yes, yeah. Unless someone's watching, well, we know that there are some people that watch who aren't from the UK. Yeah, support them too. Go Denmark. Anyway, we're going to jump straight in. We've got 7 games to go through this week. And the game that we are going to start with is the game where we're missing the expert in what happened in this game because he's not here this week. But it is the Lustrian Legends versus the Atomic Cherry Bombs. It is Wood Elves versus Jungle Elves, I suppose you could call Amazon in one way or another. And it is a game that very much went the way of the Amazon side. A convincing victory by Tom, but I think luck was. I think it's probably not doing justice to say that luck wasn't on Scott's side in this one. Tom, you were receiving the same messages that I was from Scott during this game. Things just didn't go his way.
Yeah, it just sounded like a complete dice implosion. Um, Elves not playing elf by not dodging, not picking up, not catching, falling over on their own accord. It sounded like an absolute disaster for him, unfortunately. And he couldn't even blame anything like the weather because it was nice weather.
No, I don't think there's any. He could only blame his dice, really, which were just abysmal. I do have a full report from the man himself, which I will. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll give you a good summary of what went on in this game. He took a merc at the beginning, a merc with block, and the kickoff event was a Fisher's Ref, which just immediately got the merc sent off on turn one before he'd even done anything. Ball landed in a not elf friendly place. So he pulled back a bit, accepted Journeyman, who failed a 2+ dodge, failed the armor, and then got a 10 on the injury roll. So without having done barely anything, he was immediately down to 9 players. Tom, good coaching and dice from Tom. Lots of blodging Amazons he's got in that team now, plus lots of skulls and failed 2-up dodges from Scott. Left them with 6 elves on the pitch and all proned or stunned at one point. This was even with Scott winning a prayers to Nuffle on the kickoff and a armor 9 war dancer for half of the match. So he's sourced some new dice who what's he said here? Who ironically are where their development. Yeah, so the Atomic Cherry Bombs are where he wants them to be development wise. He's going to take this team into next season, and he's actually happy with where they are. And Tom, he says that Tom 6 from 6 and surely into the quarterfinals. Scott's gone and got himself a tree for the conference. So she's pretty sure he's going into the conference and looking at long-term investment into season 8. So, yeah, it just sounds like nothing went his way. Phil, I've had games like that. You've had games like that where just there's nothing you can do because the dice just aren't with you. It's tricky to kind of stay kind of in it and stay at it. And sometimes the results just go this way, don't they?
It's when everything goes against you. So you plan it out, you move all your players into the right position, and you've only got not roll a 1. You've only got to not roll a 1, and you're bound to get it. You're always bound to get it. It's a bit else.
I think that's the worst thing, isn't it, with elves? That when you've got an edge 2 skill or like edge 2 passing, whatever it's like, just don't roll a 1. the ones that are just more painful.
It's a confidence thing, isn't it, with elves? Sometimes you're a bit too confident with it. Although before we started, I think Phil was saying how much he's looking forward to actually playing against the Lustrian Legends in the next one.
No, I was looking at that team. I was glancing over of what we were going over tonight, and I was looking at it. That's a dirty team. Look at all that dodge, plus all that SP he's gained on players. I would not want to be coming up against this team. That is, you're going to be outmaneuvered, outpassed, unless you can literally set up an impregnable wall of big guys to just bash everything to the ground. I don't know how you're going to keep up with that.
Because, like you say, he's got a Python thrower with 13 SPP already with accurate and also built-in pass and safe pass. So are we thinking stat on the passing? So it's a 2+ pass on that thrower with accurate pass and safe pass. And then he's also got a Piranha Warrior who has also got 13 SPP and has already got block on that player as well. So this is looking like a lethal team.
It's looking like one to beat. It absolutely is. I mean, Blodge, Blodge, dodge guard, Blodge wrestle, Blodge accurate, Blodge, dodge tackle dauntless. Like, there's just so many players there. I think he's got, if you look at the skills that he has randomized, he's got some decent skills in the random draw, but he's also been patient and got the SPP to put block, guard, wrestle, block, accurate, block on there. So Tom's built a team that is going to be one to beat. I think he's going to be one to watch and one to beat going forward. And I am, I mean, I can look at it as one of the positives of playing in the conference that I'm not going to face the Lustrian Legends. That's a beautiful silver lining. Well done to Tom. Hard luck to Scott. We'll look at the table later. It's still not out of the question that Scott does go through to the main draw. But maybe for the long-term team development, going through to the conference gives him the chance to get a few more skills to bring them back for season 8. So we'll see we'll see what the table looks like a little bit later. Next game we have is Graveyard Groovers versus the Transfargarian Terrors. John, you can tell me if I'm managing to say that right on a regular basis. And this is a group. I think this probably is. I would argue that this is maybe our group of death. James, Robert, and John, 3 incredibly experienced coaches, 3 difficult coaches to face for different reasons. With this result, it confirms John is not qualifying for the top half, for the Champions draw. He's going into the conference this season. The first time he's not made the top playoff, and the first champion to not qualify the next season for the playoffs. So a big kind of possibly shock from this group. But let's not downplay Robert here. He's done really well with that shambling undead team. Tom, as our go-to vampire expert, I don't feel like John's done anything particularly wrong. John can sort of tell us whether he had any particular has had particularly bad luck or bad dice. I think his bloodlusts have not been awful. Has he just encountered sort of players on a run at the wrong time? Like, because looking at the skills he's given, they look pretty good. Block, dodge, block, strip ball. Like, is it just the opponents he's getting a good matches for him?
Yeah, I think so. It's also the fact is that the vampires, as we've said many times, are so swingy. If they turn up on the day, they're brilliant. If not, then we've got problems. In this match here, they got sweltering heat. So it's basically, it'd be interesting to know whether they were hitting people collapsing and not even moving, because obviously I think you got to roll a D6 for each player on the pitch. at the end of a drive.
It's D3 players. D3 players are removed. So yeah, it's the worst one to get, especially when you're a team that is already at risk of removing your own players for their own reasons. To then possibly lose up to 3 at the end of each drive is tough.
Yeah, because they seem to have been quite quiet up until around like turn 7 and turn 11 by the looks. Oh no, turn 11 was a foul as well, and he unfortunately got his vampire runner killed, and he's obviously got a thrall down. But it's still quite close. Still only held him to a 1-0 win. And we know John plays very well. He positions his team very well. So although unfortunately he's at the nearing the bottom of that team, so he's in position 3, isn't he? He has played, and all his games have been very close. As I say, he's done well to build up and actually not roll randoms for skills. So he has got a blodge thrower now, which from the previous tournament we've just come from last weekend, that is worth its weight in gold. They are very, very, very dangerous. With a strength 4, movement 6 blodge player on the pitch with pass, is very, very good. And also he's got strip ball on the blitzer as well. So someone with juggernaut and strip ball is very good as well. So I don't know whether he's going to be redrafting them for the new season or just seeing how fun they are in the Conference League. But he's done well.
John is a terrifying prospect to have to face in the conference because he is a very, very good coach. And, the more games he has with his vampire team, the more that they will build. And if he redrafts them next season, however he does this season, it is going to be a tricky thing to face. Phil, Robert's had a good season so far. I think I've said 4 or 5 times that he's flying under the radar, possibly not for too much longer with results like this that he keeps getting. During this game, I think things were very tight, or possibly even not going his way. I think John had a chance to score, but a dice roll didn't quite go his way, and it didn't quite turn out. But he did manage to turn it around, and he's not getting massive results. He's not getting he's not getting results that you look at and you go, oh, that's a huge win. But he's just sort of plodding along, and 4 wins from 4. He's got one of the best records in the league. He's looking like he's going to cause people some trouble.
Yeah, you don't need a massive result. If you can get that 1-0, that's your 4. Well, that's 4 points there. 3 for the win, 1 for the clean sheet. That's enough to get you through up to the Champions League knockout stage. It's whether he has a plan, I'd say, going into a game, and it's upgrade that. So I'm sure he'll be happy with 4 out of 4 so far, but has he built the team in his ideal way that he's wanted?
So we may or may not have some technical issues. I can't currently hear Tom or Phil, but I think people watching can. So I think it's possibly just me. I'll try and figure that out on my side. Well done to Robert. A good result for him. John is going to be a very tough person to face in the next round, and we will see how he gets on in the playoff draw. We will go on to the next game, which is a convincing result for one of our stunty teams, the T-Belly Trudgers. A very, very good result for them. And a game that absolutely went their way and did not go the way of the Rats in any way, shape, or form. I am going to. I've got something to read. Justin's given me a breakdown of how this game went, but I'll cut over to Tom while I try and fix my own issues that I'm having here, because everyone can hear me. I just can't hear anyone else. And I'm going to hand over to Tom. Tom,
Yes.
a 4-0 win against Skaven for this halfling team. I think it is fair to say that it's a shock result, but maybe less of a shock when you look at the combination of a Master Chef, Griff, and Acorn, which is it's going to be deadly.
Absolutely, yeah. It does look like he's come out all guns blazing with all these inducements, especially with Griff, who by the looks of things, if I'm not mistaken, scored. I'm just going up on the list. He scored half the touchdowns, so he scored the first 2 touchdowns, and then the latter 2 were the halfling catcher and also the halfling. Yeah, both the halfling catcher, the Jerry hat trick too.
Someone who's not bothered about passing off to an owl bear there.
Yes, exactly. So it does.
I can't see either of you talking, so I'm going to let you guys discuss this game while I continue to try and fix my issues that I'm having. So you guys just go ahead, and one of you just wave at the screen if you want me to go on to the next game.
So, what do you think of this this match, Phil?
But without looking at any of the inducements that's taken at the beginning or anything, I looked at it to start with. Skaven against halflings. I figured, well, before you have a look at the result, you'd think Skaven might be the team to take this win. You then go down to the start of the match. You got 500,000 of inducements. 500,000. That's you could buy another team near enough. A basic lineman to put on the field for that. So that's the big help there. And then you think, well, a halfling team, it still might struggle. And then you see the first few people doing anything. We've got 2 tree men bashing their way across the field. Griff scoring and bashing his way across the field. There's I think halflings are just there to make up the numbers by the looks of it.
Yeah.
But it's casualty. I mean, I'll be surprised if there was any Skavens still standing up by the end of the match by the looks of it. Just casualty, injury. It just goes on and on and on.
I can hear you guys now. I'm back. It's all good. I've fixed the issue. I was playing on the pitch next to this game, and coming to the last turns, Graham's injury box was full, and he had 2 rats on the pitch, and that was it. Just before touchdown 4, he just had the 2 rats and nothing else. I've got the description from Justin as to what happened here. So first of all, Graham had 3 rerolls. Justin had 3 rerolls. Master Chef meant that Graham started with none and Justin started with 6. The kickoff event was then brilliant coaching. Justin got a 7th reroll, so he's starting with 7 rerolls to Graham's none. And immediately, turn 1, collects the ball with the thrower, tries to pass to a gutter runner, rolls a 1 on the pass, rolls the pass again that gives him, rolls the pass reroll, gives him a 2. The gutter runner then rolls a 1 on the catch, and it's a turnover straight away. The tree rolls 3 dice on a line rat, gets a 10 on the armor roll, and then a 12 on the casualty. Second tree, 11 into a 10 again. Griff wide open, gutter runner drops the ball, goes in, scores on turn 2, through. A deep kick. The thrower moves to catch, fails because on the ball doesn't catch it. Declares a pass, picks it up, needs a 3 for the pass, rolls a 2, pass reroll into a 1. Griff again runs in, grabs the ball, and this is the pattern that it went on. Just throwers are either not picking up, not throwing, or not catching, and Griff is just the superstar that he is, and he runs in and grabs the ball and goes in and scores. So that's kind of how the game went for Graham. another example of just when you can't get it, when it doesn't come your way, it doesn't come your way, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. It just sounds like it was absolutely devastating.
Well done to Justin. He is looking like the stunty team to beat. And I know a few stunty coaches will not be happy with me saying that, but at the moment, I know that Flamingos, and I know that it's particularly Flamingos and OTFC are going to want to give him a run for his money, but he is looking like the stunty team to beat at the minute. So,
well, it's currently in the best stunty. He's now jumped into second place, so he's right between OTFC in first and Flamingos in third. So he's done a big jump into the second place, and like you say, he's gunning for first.
So the Stunty Cup could be decided when James plays Robert. Then in that next game, that could be a big for the Stunty Cup. Well done to Justin. Good result, Graham. Sometimes you just can't get a win, and that was one of those games for you. So commiserations for that one. We will move on to Nurgle versus Gnomes. Inglorious Pastas versus the Big Critters. In a group that looks pretty much decided, but the Gnomes are clinging on to a chance of getting through. And a good result for them, a 1-0 win against the Nurgle side. I think there's a big kind of learning curve with Gnomes. We were talking about this at the weekend with a coach who was playing Gnomes, and sort of generally how I think just generally people are still trying to figure them out and figure out what they're good at and what they're bad at. Phil, I think something that's is maybe helping John here is a combination of things. Being patient with his skills. He's not getting much SPP, but he is waiting to choose them. But also randomizing catch on a woodland fox is a pretty handy asset to the team.
I mean, you must have thought he'd won the lottery on that one. I mean, I've played against. I've had one half a game against Gnomes, and the first thing I noticed was that fox. That's a quick player to try and keep under control. If you're not on top of that fox, it's going to run away. It's going to score. It's going to pick up the ball wherever it wants. The fact that he's got one that can now catch as well. He's running off into all different corners, staying away in the open, ready to receive the ball. If you can, like I say, with that, that's a whole other aspect of the game you've just opened yourself up to. Whereas before, you've got no one there that. I mean, the tree men will throw the Gnomes, but you've got no passing game really. There,
no,
you do now.
That's what I was just looking at, actually. I was looking at and you've got 3-up passing on the Illusionists that can take a passing skill as a primary. So I wonder whether he's got a Illusionist there with 5 SPP, whether he's maybe thinking of saving that up for a passing skill, because then he opens himself up to a good passing game, whether that is you can't throw the Illusionist, but it gives you the option of throwing a halfling, throwing a gnome, and also using that Illusionist to do a short pass, maybe to a fox that catches on a 2 and can run down, dodging everywhere on a 2. It's something that I don't know whether a normal passing game is something you would necessarily consider, but now he's got that option. It might be a good route to go down. Tom, his trees maybe not being as punchy as some of the other trees in the season, but that doesn't seem to be causing him much of an issue.
No, you're quite right with that. They haven't really been racking up the SPP like others have, which is probably down to the dice at the end of the day, unfortunately. But yeah, like you mentioned with the getting catch on the woodland fox, I suppose that's probably going to be quite good if you maybe sack the ball carrier and the woodland fox is nearby, and you can probably catch it from that perspective. But it's one of those weird dynamics in this team where you've got a good player that's a catcher but no good throwers, or the other way around where you've got a good thrower like the Orc team, or well, I say good thrower, you have a thrower, and then you've got no one to actually catch the ball. So it's that interesting kind of dynamic where he's clearly trying to effectively diversify, where he's saying, well, I'm not just going to do the classic just chuck a gnome down the field with the ball. I've got another dimension that I can try and move the ball around a bit more. Equally, he's got one there with sprint, so it can now move. So a gnome can now move as fast as a fox without sprint.
It's a good point that you made there. How the fox, if you can keep it safe but next to your ball carrier, then if your ball carrier gets smacked and it bounces onto the fox has got a good chance to kind of recover, and there's maybe something there. A little word on Nick then. He's got some good he's gone down the route of random mutations here. Results wise, he can blame me for two of the results this season, but they've not maybe gone quite his way. I think he felt he could maybe have won this game, and felt maybe he could have won the other game against the Gnomes, but things just haven't quite gone his way. Having seen Nick in a few different seasons, playing a few different teams, I really do feel that I feel like this is a good team for him. I think he's maybe encountered sort of the wrong teams at the wrong time, and maybe also because he hasn't played all the games himself, maybe he's not sort of been in the rhythm of it quite as much. But I think he sort of enjoys the kind of theme of the team and enjoys the random mutations and all of that aspect. It's not the first time we've seen random mutations. Obviously, we saw it with the hot spews in previous seasons. Do you think, looking at the sort of things he's got here, there's some monstrous mouth, there's prehensile tail, claws, and monstrous mouth on a pestigore. That's pretty deadly. Would either of you be looking to maybe redraft this team, or do you think is the randomness, will it eventually catch up with you, or do you think it's a good team to bring back?
I'd bring this team back. I quite like the mutations. They're very unique compared to all the other kind of skills you can get, and only a few teams can actually access them. I think only 3 teams can only access the mutation ones. Was that
Not many?
Nurgle? Yeah, Nurgle, Chaos Chosen. Oh no, 4 perhaps. Chaos Chosen, Chaos Renegades, and Underworld, wouldn't it be?
Corn can.
Sorry, Corn as well.
I've done that with my team.
Okay, I didn't know about Corn. That's an interesting aspect of it, because things like Monstrous Mouth and also Big Hand are quite fun, because Big Hand not only is it gives you kind of, you can ignore tackle zones when attempting to pick up the ball, can't you? But it also ignores weather, so it doesn't matter if you're picking it up; it's just a standard pickup. Although it is on an Edge 4 player.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the wrong player to get Big Hand on, but it is still a useful skill. Maybe not on the player that he's got it on. Phil, would you bring this team back?
I'd be interested in bringing this back purely for that Pestigore. Looks like it could be a fun player to have going around the pitch, especially with claws as well. That extra damage you can provide against other teams that come at you with equally as strong big guys, and you've got something there to get through the armor with.
I think if he managed to get if the next random mutation was horns on that player, horns and claws for the offensive, prehensile tail for the defensive, and monstrous mouth for going to try and score, like it's a very good kind of all-round player. Maybe that's something that would do it down, is that it's almost got a skill to cover everything, but you can't put it everywhere, so you have to commit to one way or another. Maybe that's sort of the only issue with it. On the Gnomes, then, we'll look at the group later. They've got 1 game left to play, and they need 6 points from that game, and it is against the team at the top of the group. Now, I think I don't think I'm doing John a disservice by saying that is a big hill to climb in his last game. That's a very big hill to climb. 3-0 with 3 casualties is a big result that a stunty team needs to get against an Old World Alliance team with a lot of skills. If he doesn't make it through there, can we see this gnome team going far? Can we see it catching up with some of the other stunty teams? Do we think gnomes just are still a bit too unknown to make much progress? What do we think?
I'm still undecided with gnomes. When they first came out, I wasn't enamored by them. I didn't rush out to buy them, and I played them now against them, and they're too fragile in my opinion. And especially if you're coming up, this gnome team. If it goes through to the next division and next side, it'll have a very, very hard time against the competition. In fact, it's going to have a hard time against the competition in any which way it goes. And it is, and I don't know. There's other gnome teams in the divisions that, to be honest, have better lineup than this one.
Well, I mean, if I was playing with that gnome team, my initial thought and game plan would be get the fox the ball and just run around and stay away. You can outmaneuver. It's only the catcher that's got the same amount of movement as the fox, and I don't think that I don't think you use the human catcher to try and go after and try and do damage at risking the catcher itself. So I'd be looking to hopefully get the favorable kickoff, grab that ball, and just run away with it. Yes, sacrifice people, and then be scoring at the end.
We'll discuss this more, not here, but on New Dice Please this week. So tune in on Thursday. Both me and Tom played a gnome team at the weekend, and a big shout out to Harry if he is watching this. They are a team that I think take practice. I think any gnome team that has that is brave enough to redraft next season, I think next season's gnomes we could see doing a lot differently to this season's gnomes, just from a learning point of view, because I think coming into them with not a big amount of games or not a big amount of kind of preparation, I think they can be very tricky. So it'll be interesting to see if he does bring them back, and see how both of these teams do when they get to the probably conference, but let's not write John off yet. Let's see how he gets on in that final game. So we've got 3 games left, and we go to former champion James OTFC versus the Golden Oldies. Another game that was played in this group, and a win for James. And speaking to James about this, and speaking in general to people in this group, Jack came into this group with his Old World Alliance team, and both myself and Scott, who are also playing Old World Alliance, made the assumption that he was a veteran player, because why else would you pick Old World Alliance? Because neither of us have enjoyed them this season, with vastly different results. And it turns out it was just the team that Jack had, and he's come in and played them. And while he's not got the results, it's another loss for him, sadly. It's going to be conference for him this season. He's, again, one of our new players who has clearly shown game-on-game improvement. And James said himself that this game was a lot more difficult than previous ones, because Jack is remembering the game and playing and sort of improving with each game, which is great to see. Absolutely love it. Phil, James clinging on to top spot in the Stunty Cup. Getting results like this will certainly help him. Is James a team that can retain the Stunty Cup, or are those ogres eventually going to fall short to Bonehead and to the squishiness of Noblars, and are the halflings going to step in?
They might get lucky.
That's not feeling the most confidence, is it? might get lucky.
Oh yeah, but you got. I mean, my experience with the big guys rolling the one and then chucking him over my shoulder because he's a useless pot of crap. But
I prefer
all those
stomping, but you know, it clearly runs in the family.
Yeah. He's got all those extra skills. He doesn't need to really. You have to use them as his primary way of playing. He doesn't have to, if he has to play around the bonehead option. Think, fine, I'll set him up. So if I do bonehead, it doesn't matter. You got all those little linemen there, which I'm sure you could do enough to get him through the rest of the group stages and keep that stunty cup. I don't think he needs to worry about the ogres.
Tom, looking at his team, he's got break tackle on 3 of them, which is huge for a big guy. But that third ogre there, that ogre blocker, block, dodge, and break tackle. That's a superstar waiting to happen. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's got 10 casualties. He's got 3 MVPs. He's got 2 completions. I mean, when you're looking at the ogre team, the Noblars, you get 3 dice on all the time. When your ball carrier is a strength 5 blodge player, that's nightmare fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are effectively with Bonehead, like better vampires, shall we say, because that's what you got to think like. All you just do, just don't roll ones, and you're off to the races with these guys, especially with strength 5, armor 10. No one's really going to get past you, and the low cost linemen of the Noblars, you can just keep purchasing them for 10 a penny every time. You don't really care about them. They're just there to gunk up the work.
I'd like to know what he's going to do with that 8 SP on that 5th ogre blocker there. Sitting there waiting for another skill to be, added to it, but what route's he going to go with it?
Ooh, I reckon he might try and do stats. I reckon he'll try and stat it on maybe an agility or something so he can pick up the ball easier. I don't know.
I think he's, if I had to guess, I would say he is waiting for a chosen secondary. Because a chosen secondary is normally 8, but he's already got break tackle, so it's going to be more. I wonder whether he's saving up to stick block on that one, or maybe it's got break tackle, maybe another dodge, something. Yeah, I think he's clearly waiting to choose something. What it is that he's going to choose, I don't know. But yeah, it's just such a scary lineup. The punter with leader is an incredibly helpful skill to add to him. He's already running 3 rerolls, so that's effectively 4 rerolls. He's got an APOC to keep some of those ogres on the pitch if they do happen to go down. But he's just running very nicely, and I think it's easy for us now to write off the flamingos, which we shouldn't do. And I think part of the reason that in my head I'm thinking it's ogres or halflings is probably just because the flamingos have played all their games already, so they're not in the forefront of our mind. There's just something about this ogre team that, again, a little bit like Robert, a little bit like his brother. As far as the stunty teams go, he's not grabbing the headlines. James isn't going out there and getting the landmark results or making he's not doing that. Flamingos are a spectacle. We love to watch them. We love to see them. The halflings are doing all sorts of shenanigans with 4-0 wins and trees scoring touchdowns. These ogres are just sort of getting solid results and floating their way through the field. And I wonder whether they will be our kind of, I don't know if it would be a surprise, but I wonder whether we're focusing on the other stunties and we're missing the fact that James is just playing a solid game.
Yeah, I agree. He's nearly maxed out his whole team. So you got, he's got 15 players there. He's also, the last game he plays is against his brother Robert as well. So that would be definitely one to watch if we're streaming that. That'd be a good one to watch. He also was very clever because he got 5 dedicated fans, so he's clearly been racking up the treasury as well to just in case one of these ogres doesn't make it, he can buy another one. kind of scenario. In fact, I think he can. You can get one more
He's
over.
got
can't
space.
you?
He's got space for one more, but he's sat on a treasury of 235. He can't quite buy one and have the money to replace another.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know which way he's going with it. It'd be interesting to see. Currently ranked 22nd on tour play for ogres in the UK. He's doing he's putting in what I expect nothing more of James. I expect solid, good, entertaining, fun Blood Bowl from James, and it's what he's doing. So it's nothing that's
how much is an ogre?
140, I believe.
140. So, and how much is a reroll for? Because you could take another reroll then.
So that will be 140 as well.
At 140 as well.
Both will put his team value up significantly. I think that's probably a factor with that ogre team. A quick mention, one more mention on the Old World Alliance team. As far as skills go, he's got some good ones there. Wrestle, multiple block, block pro. So he's got a good kind of mix of skills there. The thing that will have been a big impact for him was not only losing the Dwarf Blitzer for the next game, but the Dwarf Blitzer is movement stat busted. A movement for Dwarf Blitzer that's painful. That's not something you want from your Dwarf Blitzer. You need them to be getting in there, and that I guess a quick vote across us three here. Do you sack him?
He's got no extra skills. Yeah. If he had an extra skill there, which was maybe worth keeping, you could probably ignore the movement because they don't have great movement anyway. You'd use him as a wall. You just put him somewhere as an awkward thing to try and get around. But without that extra skill there, it's just dead weight.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And also, he's got the money to pay for a new one. So yeah.
Yeah, I think stat busted, no skills, no SPP. I guess the only balance will be: is he saving for another reroll? He's 20k away from another reroll, which would give him 3. I don't feel the rerolls are overly. I mean, I've had a shocking season. I'm no expert on this team, but because you've got on all of those dwarves, you've got loner, so I don't feel like the rerolls are as important, maybe, because half of your team you don't really want to be wasting them anyway. So yeah, it sounds like we're all on the side of sacking. So we'll see what Jack does going into his next couple of games. 2 games left, and we are going into mine and Phil's group, and we're going into my last game of the group stage. A 5th loss from 6 games. That's 5 losses, 1 draw, and no wins coming out of this group for me. Comfortably my worst season that I've had, and a season that I have no intention of willingly repeating, both results wise and taking this team. But Andy had an absolutely phenomenal game. I threw every shenanigan I could at him. I threw Griff at him. I literally threw halflings at him. None of it managed to work. And Andy comes away with a good win, putting him at the top of the group, tied with JD with their game, the last one to play. As I always do with my games, I sit back, I relax, and I will hand over to you two to ask me any questions that you may want to.
I'll let Phil go first.
Okay. The final game literally didn't matter how many points you got, your position wouldn't change.
Yeah.
So does that mean you just go and do as many random things as possible just to see what worked?
I think I stuck with my kind of season mentality of let's just have some fun. Griff is fun. He's great. I didn't quite have the money to take Griff and Cindy, which I would have done if I had. I would have taken a giant if I had a little bit extra. I had planned to take the giant, but I didn't quite have enough money. Yeah, I just went in it to have some fun. I just wanted to. Andy is such a fun guy to play. He's such a nice guy, and games against him are just really entertaining. The amount of double skulls he rolled was only sort of matched by the amount of rolls that I failed. So we were both just having a little bit of a shocker, and just enjoying it. Andy wouldn't have Andy was qualifying regardless of this result, and the top of the table was always going to be decided with him versus JD. So we just both had a great time. I guess that's it really, which was great.
And what's let's have a look at the Nurgle team. So the Nurgle team again has got quite a lot of re-rolled skills on it. So did any of them come into effect in the game? Did that gunk up the work, slow you down?
Yeah, the tentacles on the Pestigore, that was a real problem. That was there for the game. The prehensile tail on the bloater, that was a problem as well. And the disturbing presence on the Pestigore did mean that I had to be really careful. I was setting up with the owlbear on the very edge, on the touchline at the very edge of the pitch, because it was the only, because I was counting and I was like, well, if I set up here, I'm in 3 disturbing presence. If I'm here, I'm within 4. If I can set up here, I'm only within 1, and I can blitz the other one out the way. So, you know, having the amount of disturbing presence he had made the game very difficult. He's already got 5 there, but he had a 6th with that Pestigore, which meant he could pretty much cover the entire front line and make any throw difficult. And I think I succeeded on 1 throw teammate, but I failed the landing. So, you know, it did work. It absolutely stopped my kind of party trick.
Okay. And that was your last game?
Yes. The only sad thing about it was that it wasn't my last game with Old World Alliance, because I now have to play at least once more in the conference. I will not be sad to see this team go. The sooner I can get them out of my box and probably up there on the shelf to never get played again, the better. Absolutely done with them. Absolutely done.
Should we move quickly on then?
I will just say the only last thing I'll say, you know, this group that I've been in, I think has been, it's been a really entertaining group, because I feel like the teams that people have chosen have, like, we have all been on a relatively level playing field, and I think there have been a lot of occasions where games have been decided on who's had luckier dice. You know, games have all been really tight in this group. You know, it's not, you know, you probably wouldn't class this as a group of death from a point of view of, like, coaches that, you know, have played forever and won lots of things and all of that. You know, from that perspective, you may not class it as a group of death. But I think, as far as how close every coach is to each other with regards to ability and what they're using, I think it has been really tight, which has made it really entertaining. It's made it really good fun. So, Phil, we didn't get you. We haven't had you on until you've played all of your games. Any comments on the group?
Well, I think you summed it up with, it was the dice rolls that, in the end, that decided some of these games. I know my first game against Andy it was close, and it was literally the ball going out of bounds and being in his favor that got him that 1-0 win. If the ball had gone the other way, it was there for me to go grab and score. That's literally the deciding factor of the game. Otherwise, the whole game we were even in the middle of the pitch, just knocking each other down. Which was fun. It's great when it's a nice even game. And then you had the other side of it when my second game against JD, I couldn't do anything. I literally could not do anything. It was ones. If I did manage to push someone over, I then couldn't do any damage. And then, well, both my games against you were pretty even. I think you got the luck in that first game with the 1 minute, whatever it was, touchdown.
1 minute 24.
1 minute 24.
I'm going to get that tattooed on the inside of my
So you have that. And on the other hand, you then decided to go, I'll hand off to the owlbear. And you didn't have any luck there, did you?
No, and I would
So,
do both of those things again and happily take the results. But I mean, I don't know about you. I'll absolutely be cheering on JD and Andy in the next round because I think they're both JD's on the roll of a lifetime. He's having some really good results. Andy's grown year on year. You know, the pair of them both deserve a good playoff run. So I'll absolutely be cheering for the both of them in the next
JD
round.
for champion.
And
That's-
I'll
that's my-
absolutely
That's my thing. That JD for champion.
I'll absolutely be hoping that I don't face
No pressure, JD.
Corn again in the next round as well.
It's interesting because just very quickly, you do have the most valued team in the league.
I do, yes. I did look at that because I just spent all of my SP. I was like, let's
Okay, I take it back. I do want to face Corn in the next round.
Get rid of you, so you can have like 700 or whatever it is. You could literally put a second team out.
Do I have enough to play Griff and a Giant? I don't know. Let's see. That would be insane. We'll go to the last game. The last game that we're covering today. Which is Elliot and his Necromantic Horror versus Jamie and his Dwarfs. A game at the weekend. Myself, Scott, James, and Tom at the tournament we were keeping an eye on as results were coming through for this one because we knew that depending on the result here, Jamie didn't need a lot. He just needed 1 point more than Elliot in this game, and it would have been enough for him to stop Elliot qualifying. And 1 point more than Elliot is what he got. A 1-1 draw, but 5 casualties coming from the Dwarf team. Absolute annihilation from them to get the bonus point they needed. I guess the person, Tom, who may be happiest about this result is probably John, because now he's not the only champion not to make playoffs in this, after becoming champion. So maybe John's happy with this result, but I'm sure Elliot's disappointed.
I bet, yeah. Again, this game looked interesting. Again, it's got weather involved straight from the outset, and then very quickly a Ghoul Runner's out. Now, I've played Necromantic Horror in tournaments. I really like them. I like the diversity of them. But one thing is, sure about the Necromantic team, you need those Ghoul Runners on the pitch. They are your pickers. They're your ball carriers. And that's going to be already a nasty way to go. But didn't deter him. Carried on, turn 8, got the touchdown with Cecilia. So the werewolf coming into its own on that side of things. Then straight away after that, turn 10. So straight after the second half, turn 10, again, a zombie lineman badly hurt, and then another zombie lineman badly hurt. So clearly regen wasn't working for him either on this game. And that kind of made it so that Jamie could bring it back and score the equaliser in the middle of the second half. So it sounds like it was a close match. There was clearly either some lucky dice or some great play on both sides there. So, yeah, as you say, Elliot's potentially not going to be particularly happy that he's. I think he's now. Is he now out? Is he? He's now. Yes, he's right at the bottom of that.
He is now out. He's now.
Yeah.
This is one of the closest groups that we've got. Yeah. Absolutely one of the closest groups. But so we were always going to lose. Jamie had a really good run last season. Jamie has played this team every single season of the A&DBBL. He's only actually redrafted once or twice, but he's played this Dwarfs. He sticks to Dwarfs. He likes Dwarfs, and every season you see an improvement, and every season you see, he becomes a more and more sort of deadly player to face. So looking at his team, Dwarf Blitzer, guard Mighty Blow, Dwarf Blocker, guard Mighty Blow, Dwarf Blocker, guard Mighty Blow, Troll Slayer, Mighty Blow, Runner, Block, Dwarf Blocker, Mighty Blow, Death Roller, Mighty Blow. And multiple
multiple
block even. God, I was getting excited there. I mean, multiple block, strength 7, multiple block on the death roller. I mean, that's madness. And it's got 6 SPP sat there waiting. Pretty much every player in that team has got buckets of SPP. The Dwarf Blitzer is sitting on 18 SPP right now.
If someone could tell me how you get this much SPP, and first of all, how you get that much? I don't know how you get as much. I'm scrabbling around with like 1 or 2 every game, and equally, how have you got the dedication not to press randomize?
Just the willpower that clearly we don't have. I think that's clearly it. Phil, you've played Elliot before.
Don't remind me.
I think, you know, he played a few seasons of Dwarves. Obviously, he did really well, got to the final, became champion. Necromantic Horror was a very last minute choice for him. He swapped it out at the last minute. He was going to play Gnomes and he swapped to Necro the day before the cutoff. You know, it was a very, very quick change of heart. Do you think he will stick with Necro? My gut says maybe he won't. Maybe he'll pick something else. But, you know, do you think he should stick with Necro, looking at some of the skills he's got here? I mean, he's got block and tackle on that werewolf. He's got Dauntless on another werewolf. He's got guard on a wraith. Guard, block, foul appearance, sidestep on a wraith. That's a really good combo. So he's got some good players that he could bring back. Do you think he will, and do you think he should redraft?
I think he's left the option open there, definitely, because he's randomized everything apart from the block, the tackle, and that guard. So if you were determined that you were going to take or redraft the team, you'd randomize less because you'd want to build that team up in the first season to have that powerhouse to go forward in the second one. So I believe he'll probably not redraft. I think he'll go for something else. What I am interested in is I'd like to know whether the time taken for each person that played in that game is accurate, because it says that Elliot is only his turn for 25 minutes. And I'd like to know if that's because he had lots of bad dice and was just failing on the first thing he was doing, or whether they just didn't update tour play straight away.
Yeah,
I'd like to know that.
Gut says half and half, because Elliot is from the breed of player that plays very quickly. He doesn't hang around. So I don't imagine he took too long. If he only took 26 minutes, then Elliot, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happened there. Actually, if he's only took 26 minutes, then I would say well done for getting a 1-1 draw, because games that I've had where I've taken about 26 minutes for my halves, I've probably lost quite substantially. So
I mean, I know my games are pretty long, because I'm always overthinking and trying to work out scenarios. Most of the time, I'm an hour and a half, if not more, on my timestamp. But I say, I was just wondering whether or not that would be accurate or not, because that could just be a very, very bad game that Elliot's had there.
Jamie's in the chat. Hi, Jamie. He said, "Yeah, that's true. I'm just slow." So, Jamie saying he was actually just slow playing. But we'll look at their group in a second. It's been one of the tighter groups that we've had. I think it's close to being decided now. I think there's still some wiggle room, but we'll have a little look in a second. 2 really good coaches that have been slogging away, so it's no surprise to have such a tight game. Death Roller getting MVP will be great, a great little addition to the SPP for Jamie there. Tom, do you think? I think that it's only a matter of time before we see Jamie in a semi-final or further, because I think he knows this dwarf. He knows how to play dwarfs possibly better than anyone else in the league at this point. How would you rate, with all that mighty blow he's got, how would you rate his chances this season for maybe getting a semi-final run, maybe even getting further?
Yeah, I'd say so. He has got some chinks in his armor, though. There have been some times where he's lost. He lost quite a lot, 4-1 against Skaven to the Toxic Runners, which again, looking at it, it doesn't look like, even though he looked like he was almost slaughtering half the Skaven team there. So it may be the fact that there may be some like times where he could come and get some quick competition. But with all that mighty blow and guard now, and as you say, lots and lots of SPP on players, which could potentially get to a point where they go up a stat or get some really nice secondary skills. I think this is a dangerous team, and I would no doubt expect to see it, if it doesn't go all the way this time, to be redrafted for the next season.
I'd like to see an exhibition match against what Jamie's final dwarf team would be against Elliot's final dwarf team from last season. See if they can outdo each other.
Well, they did face off last season, didn't they? Like he did play Elliot in the quarterfinals, 2-1 loss to Elliot. Then I think it could be, I think that could be an interesting face off. Like there could be, it could be all or nothing, a game like that. It could be everyone dies or no one dies. It'd be an interesting one to see. Let's take a look then at the groups that we've got, because we're starting to get a good picture as to who's going through to the players and who's not. No games in Orchidas this week. Jack's still looking pretty comfortable for qualification there. Jane could upset that, but I believe numbers wise, Jane and Tom have to play each other, and they can't both get maximum points. So I think Jack is pretty safe, but it's still looking close between Jane and Tom for second place in that group. Bloodweiser looks all but confirmed. Just Hoodle Hellions to face off against the big critters to see whether the critters can get 6 points. They need a 6. If they get 6 points from that game, they will move in front of the Nurgle team, but that is a big ask. So we'll see whether John can pull that off. Chaos Cola, this was the tight group we were talking about. 1 game left to play in this group. And Elliot now confirmed as not going through. Graham needs a big result in his last game in order to get out of that group. He needs a big result, and he needs Jamie not to have a big result, and then he can get through. So Jamie's looking all right at the moment, but Graham will try to upset that. McMurtry's quite a few games left to play in this group, but Rich is looking pretty comfortable there. Very tight between the Dreystone Defenders and the Wildermere Wasps for second place. So Huntington's Folly still has 3 games left to play. Momentum's not on his side, but he's going to try and do an upset. You know, there's 18 points left to get there, so we will see whether he can do anything. Nesquig, the possible group of death. Robert looking very good on 4 wins from 4. James looking pretty good in second place now. John's only got 1 game left, and he cannot get enough points. Technically, Jack could get 2 6-pointers and make it out of this group. It's not out of the question. He would need 2 6-pointers, and he'd need a good touchdown difference, and he needs James not to get any more points. It's looking unlikely, but it's still mathematically possible. In Achilea, Flamingos clinging on to second place there, having played all their games. Harrison is charging up the field and going to try and make that less likely. So I'm sure Scott will be watching Harrison as closely as possible. Dave looking pretty set for top spot there with 4 wins from 4. Spike Mag has been decided for a while. 1 game left to play in this group. Doombringers and Circus Fantasia sat at the top, both on the same number of points. Touchdown difference goes to JD, as does casualty difference. But basically, who comes out with more points will top the group there. Gilded Knights and Eggfort Owlbears going to have a fun time in the conference, I am sure. And Popcorn, Lustrian Legend, 6 wins from 6. Perfect record going into the last 16. Double Yolks currently sitting in second. 1 game left to play for them. 1 game left to play for the Atomic Cherry Bombs. Both games against Sid Saracens. Simon could still qualify from this group, although he currently sits on no points. It's going to be a hell of a battle between those 3. Sam is in the strongest position, but we will see how those final 2 games do play out. So before we go, we will just do our usual final things. Phil, what's your game of the week?
I mean, I'm not doing it because he's not here, but Amazon's against Wood Elves. 4-0. Sorry, Scott.
Tom, game of the week.
I think it would have to be Toxic Runners versus the Halflings, the T-belly trudges. These ones where there's a runaway score. The fact was that they came out and they just came out with all arms flailing by the looks of things and all branches flailing. So it looked like it was a fantastic game.
I'm torn. I think game of the week. I think I am going to give it to. Toxic Runners versus the Trudgers because of the amount of players in that casualty box from a stunty team was quite frankly incredible. Player of the week. Now I'm torn between two. I am torn between this particular player here whose name I can't pronounce. Nizon. Maybe I'm not entirely sure. I'm torn because 2 touchdowns and a casualty in that game. But I actually think the player of the week for me this week, I think I might give it to Griff. I might actually give it to Griff for I think Justin would have got all those casualties probably regardless, but Justin won 4-0, I think, because Griff was there to help out. So I no doubt he would have won the game out of the way. He still did well on the casualties. I think Griff won in that game, and I think like by that margin. So I think I would give it to Griff. Tom, what do you think?
I think for me it's going to be CMRC, the Ogre blocker, who in that game, again, we talk about these teams that are going under the radar. This player scored the touchdown and caused a minus movement injury and was MVP of the match. So that's my one.
Phil?
I'm going to go the same as you, Griff. That's did everything needed to and more for that 4-0.
I think that's he was good in my game as well. Griff had a busy day that day. He was on 2 pitches at once. Finally, bounty of the week. I'm going to throw out a bounty of the week. I'm going to go for Sam Morsey. I know it's supposed to be Sam Morsey. Sir Amorsey. I think a ogre with break, tackle, block and dodge. Someone needs to put a bounty on that chap. That's a difficult bounty to claim, but someone needs to put a bounty on that chap. Phil, what do you think?
Ooh. I think I'm gonna have to go for that Pessigor Leeson.
That's not a bad shout, actually. Yeah.
Someone's gonna have to stop him getting any further. That's a dangerous person to come against.
Tom, what do you think?
I think I might go for the Python Warrior Thrower. That one, that's going to be, if that gets a stat improvement, especially on the passing, that's going to be a dangerous character in an already dangerous team.
I think if there's anything that makes you want to put a bounty on a player more than just them performing well, it's their coach politely asking you not to put a bounty on them. So, James, I'm afraid you've done yourself a disservice there. Somebody put a bounty on that blodging breaks tackle ogre straight away.
Rookie error.
That's it. That's all our games this week. That's the standings as they are from week 7. So we're running out of weeks now. Not many games left to play. Get your games in. Get down to the shop. Make sure you book your table in advance. Get those final few games in, and we will cover them all here on our roundup. When they are played, we'll start to bring you some more information about what we're doing, what the playoffs will look like. I say that every week that I'm going to get more information out on what the conference and the champion playoff looks like, but we will put some more information out eventually. We will have some more games coming to you live this week. We will have the next episode of New Dice Please will come to you on Thursday as well. Make sure you're catching up on that as well. Lots of things to continue to come your way. Thank you everyone for watching. Tom, thank you very much for being here as always. Phil, thank you very much for sitting in Scott's seat this week. So thank you to you both.
And before you go, sorry, just before you go, I've just run the numbers, and if the Gilded Knights play the Owlbears are 5K short of a giant Angriff. So
I'll sack someone.
Sack a lineman, put a halfling in. Yeah,
I will sack someone to make that happen. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you very much for watching. That's been our roundup, and we will see you next time.